Welcome to another installment of Monsters of the Mississippi. The hunt for giant grass carp on the fly rod continues. I'm still trying to beat my previous record of 36 inches, 25 pounds. But in this episode, I'll share with you some fish scouting tips that will hopefully help you with your carp fly fishing efforts. And then we'll put it all into practice. Now this video may go longer than the usual 3 minutes or so, but I hope you don't mind. Alright, there's a number of ways that you can really judge the size of these grass carp. Number one, if they're actively feeding on the surface, you can tell pretty much how big the fish is or get a good idea by the size of its mouth. If it has a mouth big enough to fit like a golf ball or even a racquetball inside of it, that's a really, really big grass carp. Another way is when they're kind of moving through the shallows. If you get a look at their dorsal fin, or especially their tail, the bigger the tail, the bigger the fish. So if it's a giant whale tail, again, you can be sure that's a really, really big grass carp. As far as judging the length, a lot of times when they're cruising through the shallows, you'll see just the tip of their head pop out of the water, and also a lot of times their dorsal fin. And if you look at the length between the tip of their head or their mouth and their dorsal fin, that'll give you a good idea of the rest of the size of the fish. So a few more tips for scouting for these grass carp if you're not actively seeing the fish, right on the surface of the water feeding. A lot of times it'll be right below the surface, or sometimes it'll just barely pop out for a second or two. But what you can look for is, again, right now it's real still and calm back here, as you can see. And if you'll see just like vines that are sticking in the water, bouncing around, leaves and like this, and the brush overhanging just kind of bouncing around like something's yanking it into the water, which they are. These fish are literally yanking vegetation down into the water. So just look for vegetation, grass, overhanging leaves, overhanging vines, any kind of vegetation, anything that's moving that otherwise shouldn't be moving. That's a good sign there's a grass carp feeding on it. And also, if the sun is right above you, you'll see just a big submarine kind of golden glow right below the surface of the water moving through, because again, they tend to hang pretty shallow. And sometimes they'll be sort of in more muddy areas, there'll be like a dispersion of mud where they're moving through the flats. So if a cloud of mud just all of a sudden appears, that's most likely a grass carp, or a lot of times a common carp feeding or moving through the area. But again, look for all those signs of the actual fish, and also look for signs where the fish is feeding. Something else to keep in mind, if you spot one grass carp, you can be plenty sure that there's going to be more around. Grass carp as well as common carp travel together in shoals, not in schools, but in shoals, as there is a difference. So if you spot at least a couple of fish in an area, I recommend just staying put for a while. If you got a lot of current to deal with, I recommend bringing along a little anchor that you can just attach to your kayak or whatever, and just easily, carefully drop it in there and don't make a lot of noise, and just stay put for a while. And if you stay nice and quiet, I can almost guarantee you'll start seeing fish, kind of rising up, feeding, moving through the area. And so just stay put for a while, see what happens, keep your fly rod at the ready, and I think you'll have good luck. Another scouting tip is to find the food. These grass carp have preferred food sources at different times of year. Depending on where you live, like here in Missouri in June, July, there's tons of cottonwood seeds that come off the trees and just collect all over the place along these banks and of these backwater sloughs, and the grass carp just come out of the woodwork to feed on those cottonwood seeds. Right now, it's late September, so it's the early fall months, and the leaves are starting to fall off the trees, and I'm seeing a lot of grass carp just coming to the surface and just gobbling up these little small leaves, kind of like a big aquatic moose, just eating leaves, willow leaves and whatever kind of small leaves they can find to stuff in their mouth. So again, depending on what time of year it is, follow the food, find their preferred food sources, and just move slowly through those areas, stay put, and you'll most likely get into some good grass carp fishing action. For example, I'm kind of fishing around this little island out here, and the wind and the current is coming right around that side. If you can see it over there, right around this side, as well as right around that side. And right here in front of me, this little area is where all the current stops. It's nice and calm, and there's food all over the place. You know, small leaves, all kinds of vegetation and stuff that blew in from the wind and the current. And there's all kinds of fish stacked up in here feeding grass carp, common carp. There's even bass and whatever else chasing around, little schools of bait fish. So you find the food, you will find the fish. And that's another tip for doing so. All right, I found a spot where there's some giant ones feeding. So I backed up out of the area, got my kayak secured, and I'm gonna stalk this shoreline over here and try to get a big one. Gotta be very, very stealthy. They spook super easy. Let's see what we can do. Got him, fish on, fish on. I kept casting into that spot where he's been feeding, and finally I just kind of worked it along the edge and he hammered it. All right. Woo! Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Fantastic. You know, sometimes these grass carp, they just hammer it immediately, and sometimes you really gotta stay persistent. Just keep teasing them with that fly, you know, just kind of put it in their feeding path and just keep at it until they finally, you know, want to take a whack at it. But you can't get too aggressive or you'll spook them away. Man, oh boy, yeah. All right. Whoo! Love it. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's not the 30-pounder. I don't think he's even a 20-pounder, but he's at least 10, if not bigger. It's hard to land these things. Got to have a big net, as I've learned the hard way, with plenty of reach. Okay. Easy. Got him. Whoa. Yeah, he's pretty good. Whoa, jeez. I'm gonna break my rod. Man. Whew. Ooh, man, a fly came out of his mouth and all that ruckus. Let's see what we got here. All right, there he is. Another good sized grass carp, not the 30-pounder. He's probably about, I'd say 10 to 12 at least. Not sure how much he weighs, but always exciting grass carp on the fly rod. But there's bigger ones in there. But sure enough, today I found where all the food was stacked up, and that's where the bigger ones were hanging out. There were some in here that are way bigger than him. So I'm going to put him back, let things regroup, and keep going after the real monsters. All right.
Well, once again, as fate would have it, I spotted some true monsters toward the end of the day, but the wind picked up quite dramatically, which blew my kayak all over the place, and I just couldn't stay in position to cast properly to those massive fish. Dang! And so, the hunt for the monster of the Mississippi River continues. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel and check out the 3 Minutes Outdoors website at 3minutesoutdoors.com. And finally, if you'd like to support this channel, click on the link in the video description below to find out more.